Hello and welcome to the shop. Periodically I'll get a question from someone asking if I've ever done a laser cut blank, and until now I've not attempted one. Recently I purchased this laser cut blank and it has music notes all over it, and what we're going to do is we are going to attempt to turn this laser cut blank. I'm a little nervous because it's so delicate, there are so many pieces and I've never done it before, but I'm also very excited about turning something new. So stick around, we'll turn this, I'll give you my opinion on it, and hopefully we can make a killer pin. I'm really excited about this laser cut blank, but I'm also really nervous, not knowing what to expect. Let's get everything out of the container here. Lots and lots of little pieces. Ooh. Some of the pieces appear to be broken. That's a shame. Let's see. I don't know what I need and what I don't need, so I guess I got to pull all of this out. Set that aside. Here we go. Let me get a little file or something where I can try to push that out. What needs to happen is I need to get this note all the way out so that I can put the darker one in and alternate the woods. But I just don't want to break it. Okay, it's starting to go. Okay, almost. Shucks, I broke that. I don't know that that'll matter a lot because I'm putting a darker one in there. Okay, let me get the tube out that I'm going to put this on. This way I've got the tube as a backer. Okay. Looks like we need to get this note here out. Well, now I get the tube out of there now. This is all new to me, so I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go. There we go. I'm trying not to do any damage either because, you know, you don't want to damage the hole that these things have to go back in. Hell, here we go. Let's push from this side. Beautiful. Let's see. Ooh, nerve-wracking. There we go. Starting to come out. There it is. All right. Lots and lots and lots of little tiny pieces. All right, we've got everything out. What I want to do now is let's put this on the tube as a backer, and then let's try to get these pieces into there. Slide these out of the way. These little pieces here we can slide over here. Let's get everything out of the way. Now, can we get this out without breaking it? Almost. Just a really tight fit. I really don't want to break it if I can avoid it, which means I just probably jinxed myself. Oh, I did it. I did it. Whew. Now this piece should go into here. Man, oh man. I don't know that it'd be noticeable, but it's, you know, it could be the humidity that I'm dealing with. It just doesn't really want to fit. There we go. Okay. Now, for that note, we want to find the top piece to this note, which I think is this one right here. Let me get a pair of tweezers. All right, let's give this another try. Okay, that's looking nice. Now, put this here so that doesn't roll away. Let's try to get this piece out of here. Darn it. And once again, I broke it. Did not want to do that, but I'm telling you what. Tell you what, I think this piece needs to go in first. And then this piece can go in. Okay. All right. And this piece. All right, looks like I'm missing a black piece. Let's see. Okay, first off, I think this little piece goes right here. Okay. Now I need to find this little black piece that goes here to finish out this. I think it's right here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I've got to get the little piece down here at the end. Okay, we'll get it like this. Get it turned around. I've got the blank put together on this side. I've still got some little notes and things to go on the other side, but as soon as I roll this over, these are going to fall out. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try to push the tube out and then go ahead and glue the tube in. Once the tube is glued in, then I can lay these pieces in and put some thin CA glue over them to lock them in place. See what I mean? As soon as the blank rolls over, you lose your parts. Let's go ahead and let's get our tube out of here. Keep these parts together. I don't want to lose them. All right, now let me go ahead and get some medium CA glue. Ooh, I need to actually rough up my blank. I'm glad I saw that before I got too far. With the blank roughed up, I'm now ready to take a second shot at gluing it into the blank. I'm sorry, I said blank with the tube roughed up. Okay, now. Okay, got it just inside the surface of the blank. And what we're going to do is, I don't want to mess with this. I'm going to set it aside, let it dry naturally. Then we're going to come back and assemble each of these individual small parts. The blank has had a bit of time to dry. And what I want to do now is go ahead and start assembling all of the pieces. Let me get a hold of them here and get them all over here. They're tough to grab. They're so tiny. Actually, I think we had to put this piece in first. Roll it over this way. Make sure we get the right side up. Okay. There we go. Oops, let's do it this way. Whoops. Tell you what, these little tiny pieces are really tough to handle. Okay. Let's get this piece adjusted the right direction. There we go. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to pause it for a second. I dropped that piece on the floor. It is black, and I have a black mat on the floor. So, be right back with you. In a stroke of luck, I was able to find it. How, I don't have a clue, but I was. Now, if we can just get it to fit into this little space it goes. All right, got it. Now let's put this piece in. And I'm going to put just a little bit of thin CA over this. I want to be real careful not to get it everywhere, which sometimes can be tough to do, but all right, that should lock it into place. I'm going to let it sit here for a couple of seconds, soak in and dry naturally. We'll come back and continue to assemble the blank. That thin CA did a nice job. Everything is locked in place. Nothing's going to come out now. What we're going to do is just start finding each of the additional little pieces here and getting them installed. So let's see what we've got. If I bring this over, I've got a nice big note here. That goes right there. We'll go ahead and try to get that out of here without breaking it. You know, I wonder if we break the mold. Let me get a pair of side cuts and let me just break the little mold. Well, actually, you know, I don't want to do that. And the reason why is I may be able to put these pieces back in here and do something with a future pin. So let me try not to do that. I got some ideas for, well, I just did it, but not too bad. I can probably fix that. Okay. There we go. There's our note. And it should fit right into here. Ooh. You know, I'm thinking some of these may have gone in better from the bottom. Live and learn. I've got another one. I'll do it that way next time. There we go. Got it in without breaking it. Just had to work it very carefully. Once again, I'm going to bring my thin CA out, and I'm going to just put a little bit on there and let it dry. All right. Be back in a minute to continue on with the blank. My CA is dry. Let's move on to another piece. Got this little note here, and it looks like it goes right here. So we're just going to very carefully try to work it into place. There we go. Ooh, beautiful, beautiful. Now we're going to try to get this note, this other note here at the bottom, in place at the same time, and then we'll CA glue both of them in. Okay, once again it went on the floor, but I see exactly where that one's lying at. There we go. All right, let's try. Oh, shucks. I just want to be really so careful with this stuff because it's so delicate. Broke one of the legs off. I really don't think it'll show in the end, but I've got to get it all in there. I think, oh, beautiful. I think as you turn it down, I think the CA will hide a majority of these little cracks. Well, I do have a problem with this one. And that is, it looks like this piece would need to go in first. I don't know. Ooh. Let's see. Can I shake that piece back? Yes, good. Because it looks like this side needs to go in first because of the way it broke. It's kind of like it's undercut. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, a little more CA. Okay. I've got one more little note to put in place and we've got it. All right. Last but not least, we've got this little note here. And I'm looking, there it is. It's right there on the side. Let's see if we can push that out of there. It's starting to come out. Very easily, very easily. Very careful. Oh, got it. Now, ooh, I tell you what, this is not easy to do. These little tiny pieces are just so small and so delicate. All right, that's in there. Little thin CA. I hit that with just a little bit of activator because I'm at the end. As we look the blank over, let me flip it right side up. As we look the blank over, everything looks to be in place. That is an awesome blank. Now we're just going to let this, I'm going to take and soak this thing completely in thin CA. And then I'm going to let it set, soak in and dry, and then be ready to take it and trim it up and get it ready for the lathe. I need to get this tube cut to the right length so that I can take it to the belt sander and square up my ends. Now on this end, we're relatively close. We'll be able to just clean that right up. But on the opposite end, you can see the tube is relatively far down in there. This is a 27/64 inch tube. I don't happen to have another one of those handy, but I do have a 10mm tube, which is a little smaller, but it'll work. We're going to stick the 10mm tube down in there until it hits the tube. To make a mark on it, and that lets us know how far down the blank we have to cut. Now we're not going to cut that far down. I'm going to back off a little bit, and the reason why I'm backing off a little bit is I don't want to cut my tube and make it shorter than it should be, or my blank and make it shorter than it should be. So we're going to cut right about there. That'll leave us a little bit, and we can take that off on the belt sander. Here's the section I cut off. And you can see now that the tube is just below the surface. Let's head over to the belt sander and clean this up. I took several passes because I did not want to take too much material away at any one time, but you can see now that the tube is perpendicular to the end of the blank, perfectly flat, and this blank is ready to go to the lathe. I've got my laser cut music blank chucked up on the lathe. You can see the shininess where I coated it with CA to kind of hold everything in place. There's a little over 1/8 of an inch on either end that needs to come off to get this down to the level of the bushings. I'm going to attempt to use my Skew. I just put a new edge on my Skew, and we're just going to take our time and see if we can get a nice clean cut and make this look really good. I have got this blank right down to the bushings. I am extremely happy with how it feels. I just absolutely love how it looks. What I want to do now is I want to talk a little bit about the most hated tool in your arsenal, but one of the most useful tools in your arsenal. This is the skew. Now you'll notice on the back of mine I've got a little flat area here. That's because I was sharpening this on my old grinder and I wasn't sharpening it correctly. I recently reread the instructions on how to sharpen the skew, and I had to do a little bit of reshaping to get it nice and flat, and that will eventually go away over time. It's way back in the back, it doesn't affect anything. With the skew, you don't want to cut on the toe or you don't want to cut on the heel. You want to keep your piece right in the center of the skew. The way I like to use it is I like to raise my tool rest up to where I'm coming across the top of my blank. You might have noticed that as I was cutting, I went across the top. I'll bring the skew in, I'll lay it on the piece and let it ride on the piece. I come in and notice I'm at a 45-degree angle to the piece. What I'll do is I'll start to lift the back end of my skew up and roll the skew into the piece. As I do, I'm making sure that as I make contact, I'm making contact in the center of the skew. Once I see a little bit of dust start to form on the skew, I know I've got the right angle, and then I move my entire body as one piece. I don't move my hands, I'm moving my entire body. I lock my shoulders and I just go back and forth across the piece. Never go in and just stick it in there. You're going to catch. Always lay it up on top, and as you roll the skew, as you open the cutting edge up, kind of lift up on the back of it, and you can kind of see, I don't know how easy you can see, I hope you can see, that I'm right at the center of the skew. By moving my whole body, I run my finger along the back of my tool rest, so I'm keeping the skew the exact distance from the blank that I need it to be for my cut. I urge you to get your skew, sharpen it up, and just chuck up a piece of trash wood and practice with it. At first, you're going to hit the heel, you're going to hit the toe, you're going to have some catches, blow some wood apart, but once you kind of get the hang of it, ride the bevel and then open the cut up. Stay in the center, move the entire body, and you're going to find that you can get a gorgeous finish with this tool. I'm ready to start sanding, and as I mentioned before, I'm going to start with, I think this is 240 grit, because I've got an incredibly smooth finish. There are no ripples, and it's just nice and soft. It feels like I just finished sanding it. So we're going to start with the 240, and let's run through our grits. I started to sand and then it hit me. I need to put a single coat of CA glue on this blank to act as a sanding sealer and to stop the darker colors from bleeding into the lighter colors, and also to stop any grit off the bushings from bleeding into the ends of the blank. What I'm going to do since I started sanding is I'm going to take just a little denatured alcohol and wipe this blank down. Now I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes. I'll shut the camera off. I want to make sure it's good and dry, and then we'll put one coat of thin CA on here, which will act as a sanding sealer and allow me to sand this with no bleeding of colors or metal dust from the bushings. My blank has had sufficient time to dry. One quick coat, and that's all it takes. Give it about 30 seconds to dry, and we'll start sanding. I've sanded the blank all the way down to 600. I went ahead and put my non-stick bushings on, and now I'm cleaning it with a little denatured alcohol. You want to go ahead and get the non-stick bushings on there before you clean it, because if you clean this blank and then you remove it from the lathe and put your non-sticks on, you've touched it with your fingers. Your fingers probably have dirt on them from the turning, your fingers have oil on them naturally, and you will deposit that on the blank, which if you have a fingerprint on this blank, it can cause a blemish under the CA. So get the bushings on, then go ahead and get your blank cleaned up and ready for CA glue. I'm going to start off with 5 coats of thin CA glue. When you're using thin CA glue, it will dry in about 15 to 20 seconds. so you can apply the second and third and so on coats relatively quickly. I do not use activator between the coats because it's just not really necessary with a good thin finishing CA. I've got 5 coats of thin CA applied to my blank. It's had plenty of time to dry, and now I'm ready to go ahead and start applying some medium CA. Now with the medium, I'll start out with about 3 coats, and then I'll make a decision whether I want to put any more coats based on how the blank looks. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to that point. With the medium CA, I try to avoid the activator until the final coat. So I'm going to walk away, let this spin for a bit, and I'll come back and apply the second and third coats, and I'll turn the camera back on when the third coat is applied, dry, and we're ready to inspect the blank for further coats. I've got 3 coats of medium CA on here, and the blank looks just absolutely gorgeous. I think I'm going to go ahead now and run the micro mesh over it, just smooth out the surface and see what it looks like. I've gone ahead and chucked the blank back up with the turning bushings, and I'm ready now to buff it with my CA pads. Now you'll notice this pad is fairly well worn. I don't like to use new pads on a CA finish. They are very aggressive and they'll chew through the finish so quickly, and it can cause problems. I use those for acrylic blanks. I save my pads when they get old, and this is what I use for buffing the surface of my pens. I'm not trying to take the material off, I'm just trying to smooth out and level out the finish and buff it up to a nice shine while removing any scratches or surface imperfections. I always wet the pads, and I don't apply a lot of pressure. I just go back and forth, making sure that I cover the entire surface of the blank. Now we're going to flip over and use the green pad. I like to wipe the slurry off between pads. No sense rubbing that back into the blank and taking a chance at having it scratch the surface. You'll notice I don't spend a lot of time with any one pad. And this is the final gray pad. And I will give it a little bit longer to buff. Turn it off and just look at the finish. Isn't it gorgeous? It's absolutely amazing what these pads do. It's perfectly smooth. You don't see any ripples. There are no scratches. It just looks like a piece of glass over the blank. I've put my buffing wheel in my lathe, and I put a knurl nut on the end of my mandrel to hold my blank steady. Now I'm just going to put a little polishing rouge on the first wheel. And we're just going to rotate our blank for about 20 seconds. Now we're going to take it to the buffing wheel and buff it. We'll stay on this wheel for about 10 seconds. And look at that, just look at the shine on that thing. Isn't that gorgeous? What a beautiful pen. For this blank, I've chosen a Wall Street 2 gunmetal and gold pen kit. We're going to start by pressing the cap in, and what I want to do is I want to press the cap in right here on the back between these notes. That way it's not interfering with any of the laser cut notes on the pen, and I think that'll be the best spot for it. Got it lined up. Just make sure it starts in there straight. Okay, I'll bring this up and let you see just how nice it is. Look at that, right next to the pin part. There is no lip. It's absolutely a beautiful fit. Next step, we're going to pull the little ball off of the ink. We're going to put the spring on the ink, and I look at the spring and there's a small end and a large end. I like to put the small end onto the refill. I then thread the refill into the front half or the nib of the pen. The transmission threads on, and you're guaranteed a perfect motion of ejecting and retracting the ink. Push it together, and we have what I consider to be an absolutely gorgeous pen. Take a look at the fit I got on the front. That's what the Skew can do for you. Is that not beautiful? I mean, just look at that. What music lover would not like to have that pen in their pocket? I'd like to thank you for joining me in the shop for the turning of this pen. I mean, I just could not be happier with how this thing turned out. I was nervous as heck going into it because I didn't know what to expect with all the little pieces. It was meticulous. It was a little bit time consuming, but all that worked out and it was incredibly rewarding. This is just a fantastic pen. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and if you really enjoyed the video, please consider sharing it. That really helps introduce me to new audience members. I want to thank you for joining me in the shop. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.